Hey everyone. Today we're diving into a really powerful pattern. One that so many of us fall into without even realizing it. We're going to unpack this destructive cycle based on a talk by Joe Portale that starts with a very simple human need, the need for approval, and we're going to see just where that path can lead.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. We're starting with a pretty profound and, let's be real, a really challenging call to action. Taking up your cross. I mean, it's a huge concept in the Christian faith, but what does that actually mean for us, day to day?
And that is such a key question, isn't it? Because the answer isn't just about, pushing through hard stuff. The lecture suggests it's about a total shift in how we see our lives, a shift that goes against some of our most basic, hardwired instincts.
So to really get a handle on what this call is all about, we have to look at the ultimate example. The talk points us directly to the life of Jesus as the blueprint for what this kind of self-denial actually looks like in practice.
Now, what's so powerful here is the direction of movement. It's all downwards. Think about it. From the highest, most glorious place imaginable, the choice was to become a servant, humbling himself every step of the way. He didn't show up as a king demanding everyone notice him. He came as a servant, whose first big act was washing his friends' feet. That model of servanthood is really the foundation for all of this.
But here's where things get tricky. While that's the call, our own human wiring so often pulls us in the complete opposite direction. Our journey doesn't always start with this noble desire to serve. A lot of times, it starts with a deep, powerful hunger just to be seen, to be noticed, to be approved of.
In the original lecture, this is where the speaker, Joe Portale, gets super personal. He talks about growing up with this really demanding father and spending his entire childhood just trying to hear those three little words, "I love you," but he never did. And this, he explains, created this lifelong pattern of trying to earn love and approval.
And you can see how this creates this internal script that just gets written inside of us. We start to believe our worth isn't a given, it's something we have to achieve. This sets up this relentless pressure to perform, not because we love what we're doing, but because we're trying to lock down our value in the eyes of other people.
And this verse, wow, it just nails the whole struggle, doesn't it? People-pleasing isn't just some little personality quirk. It's framed here as a fundamental conflict. It's a choice. The drive to win human approval is in direct competition with that call to be a servant, who modeled a path of humility, not a path of performance.
So here's the kicker. When this hunger for approval is what's driving your life, it doesn't just keep you spinning your wheels. The lecture argues it actually puts you on a predictable 10-step path that leads, straight to disaster. Yeah, believe it or not, the original lecture lays out 10 whole steps in this downward spiral. We've kind of grouped them into 4 big stages for our explainer today, but the progression is exactly the same. It's a journey that starts with hurt and anger and ends in total despair. So let's walk through this, because it makes a scary amount of sense. It starts with a reaction, right? We feel unloved or controlled, so we rebel. We put up these protective walls. Then, to prove we don't need anyone, we dive headfirst into the success trap, trying to become our own authority. But that's a fragile way to live, so we start comparing ourselves to everyone, competing, even tearing others down to feel better. And finally, the exhaustion of it all just catches up. It leads to burnout, defeat, and this deep, profound sense of hopelessness.
Okay, let's just zoom in on this success trap for a second, because it runs on a devastatingly simple lie. We think, if I succeed, I will be accepted. But the flip side of that coin is terrifying. If I fail, I will be rejected. This makes failure feel like an absolute catastrophe. It's not just a mistake anymore, it's a verdict on who you are as a person. And it's why we can't handle criticism, because it feels like a total rejection of our entire being.
But look, this whole downward spiral, this path to disaster, it's not the end of the story. And thank goodness for that, right? The lecture is crystal clear that there's another way, an opposite path that leads to freedom and to healing. And this, right here, is really what it all boils down to. Just look at the contrast. Every single step on that disaster path has a direct opposite on the path to life. Instead of pride, trying to be our own boss, humility. Instead of building walls and isolating ourselves, openness and vulnerability. Instead of striving for control, learning to depend on God and trust other people. And instead of fierce self-reliance, we embrace that very servanthood that Jesus modeled for us. So this leaves us with the most important question of all. Seeing the cycle is one thing, but how do we actually start walking that other path?
the path of humility and trust. It's a journey away from constantly having to prove our worth and toward finally being able to just accept it. And maybe, just maybe, that's what it truly means to take up your cross. And that is where real freedom is found.